Hi, Omi. Thank you very much for inviting me, first of all. Yeah, it's great. I love speaking about myself. So I'm originally from Ukraine, so I'm Ukrainian. I kind of like I was studying physics and then business, tried myself in different industries. I mean, started as we all did, probably like as a waiter, some simple
Yeah.
jobs. Yeah, then I was working in FMCG industry in the Nestle. I think you know what is this. Yeah, it was kind of like a very boring office job. I spent there 22 months. Didn't really have
What
a
did you
very
do there
I
at
was
Nestle?
I was marketing assistant, so I was basically
Okay.
doing simple jobs in marketing department. So in general, interesting stuff, right? I was visiting like some advertisement production, was good, but in general, my responsibilities were like dealing with documents and so on. And also, in these big companies, the career growth is just very weird. I mean, you have to work there for 20 years and then you are the
Yeah, it's
head of
slow.
business unit and you're already like 45, 50. And then I was like, okay, this is too slow for me. And then, yeah, my friends just invited me to like start IT company in 2012. I had no experience, but he said, okay, I mean, I have experience with developing the products. I know how to speak with clients. I just need somebody clever who can help me like to hire people, to manage some projects. And then you will kind of like grow to QA, project manager, product manager, and then it will just work. And I was like, okay.
So you
Then
just left a job at Nestle
no,
in the
no,
marketing department.
no, it was even crazier. I left the job in Nestle just because I was like, okay, I cannot do this anymore, and I started to do MLM cosmetics. So it's
Okay.
like Avon and Oriflame, but was different. Yeah, like in half a year, I was like, okay, this is also not really what I like to do. Then I was managing for 3 months the wake base, so basically water sports base in Kiev.
Ah, like wake parks.
Yeah, like a wake
At wake
park.
park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I was
Wakeboard and
Yeah, so I spent amazing summer. I think it was 2012, by the way.
where was this?
Um,
Where did you go? Was it in Ukraine always
was
or
it in Ukraine? In Kiev, we have quite a big river, Dnipro, and basically there are a lot of boats and people do wake surfing, wake skating,
it's quite cool. It's on the rise, no? You have
wakeboarding.
competitions and all of that.
Exactly. We had a scooter, which we were renting. I was an instructor for a scooter as well. We had a
Oh wow.
bar, we had a restaurant. Some clubs were renting us for the whole night for the party, like on the open air. Basically, it was the whole platform also floating. So it was floating
Oh
based
wow.
completely. So once we had a problem with the land, so we just hired a tow board, just swam to another place.
So you
This
went in the river. Can you do that?
like in the house. Just imagine there is a house and basically like what 300 square meters place around the house, all floating.
Oh my god.
No, it's even more fun. We had a floating swimming pool. Can you imagine a floating
It's
swimming
like
pool?
spring break. And so basically you work at spring break for like
Exactly.
for a few months.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was a great summer, but then the season ended. I got some money, like just $1,500, I think. Like, I mean, of course, the salary was not high there. It was more like
Yeah. The
for basically
experience.
spend a nice time. Yeah, and I mean, I was really managing most of it, right? The supplies, the billing in the restaurant, the bar. I was fueling the boats. So I just was doing quite a lot, but it was really fun. And after that, my friend said, we're opening a IT company. And I was like, sounds interesting.
And what
Um,
experience did you have apart from, of course, your experience in the marketing department? Then, from what I understand, you did a bit. You were very hands-on. You did a bit of everything.
yeah.
Just there is a problem, you solved it. But did you have any? You mentioned product design. Did you have any design experience? Did you have any UX experience, or you just went as a completely blank page and we
Yeah, I
learn as we
like
go?
yeah, I like new things, right? So it was like just a friend says, like he was like, I am opening IT company, like, are you free? I need a partner. And I'm like,
How old
yes.
were you?
Um 24.
Okay, wow, very young as well.
Yeah, like no experience. I mean, I knew HTML like on the level that I can write hello world in red, something like that. Uh, Yeah, so basically, I didn't know the difference between JavaScript and Java. For me, it was like just one of them is script and the second one is not.
I still don't know that.
Yes, I mean it was a lot of fun. Was a lot of fun. I mean, after 1 year, we hired like 15 developers who were doing projects for US, for Israel, for Europe, like different mobile games.
Okay, so IT company in that you were a developing company, and people could
Yeah,
service. Yeah.
was
Okay.
not a product company. We were basically doing outsourcing.
Okay, and you were doing also apps, right?
It was a lot of things, some games, mobile apps, supporting some big products, like even some industrial, really heavy ones, like some pieces of it. We're working with some really nice brands, which I cannot disclose for now, but it was
Yeah.
was was interesting. And then I realized, I mean, in Ukraine, of course, I mean, for example, in Nestle, right, I was earning what, like $500 a month. So even after working as a waiter, it was like decreasing the salary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like after 1 year or something, I thought like we are really earning relatively good money for sitting in front of the computer. And I was like, okay, this is interesting concept. Yeah, and then one of the developers somehow told me about Bitcoin. It was beginning of 2013. He
Oh
told me,
wow, that was
he
really
was.
early.
Yeah, well, I think what Bitcoin was just few dollars, right? Was but I at that time I didn't really understand because he explained me mining, and I was like, what is this weird thing that you buy a computer and then it earns some digital currency? Like I didn't really understand what is it, why you need it, what's the goal. He was like, oh, you have a gaming PC and then it just earns money overnight. I'm like, I don't have gaming PC. So that's how like my first contact with Bitcoin happened. Was one of my developers. He was a student. He was 17 or 16 years old. So he was like a trainee basically in the company, but a very talented one. He's now in the Silicon Valley.
Oh wow.
So yeah, a very great guy. And yeah, so I didn't understand. And then basically late 13, the same guy we started IT company with, he told me that his friend is building mining farm. He already has few ISICs for Bitcoin, but at that time was already like era after GPU, right? So nobody was mining Bitcoin with GPU because ISICs what appeared in 12 or 11. I don't really remember.
I'm not sure.
Um,
All I know is that I think the graphic card market, but that was later. That was like in 2017 during the bubble, I think.
so
I
it was
wanted to
already
build the
Ethereum
gaming
era.
computer and it was
Yeah,
crazy. It was
it
like
was.
some graphic card costed more 2 years after they came out than the original price.
Yeah, so there were few eras. Few eras. So late 2013, when all crypto was booming because of MT Gox, like
And
scam and
Cox, yeah.
hype and so on. It was late 13. So everything was profitable, kind of. On the market, there were no GPUs, and GPUs were used to mine Litecoin because at that
Mhm.
time, Litecoin was ISIC resistant because it required more RAM. Um,
Okay.
and ISICs for Bitcoin, they didn't require any RAM, so it was easy just to cheapen the cooling and the power, and it's just done. With at that time for LTC, there were no ISICs, was only GPU, so graphic cards. And we were building two rigs on GPUs, and basically it was a nightmare to find them. And basically, I was speaking with the people where I found the cards, and they were like, "It's crazy. I mean, all our supplies are gone. We like never saw this happening ever. That all the graphic cards are sold to some weird people who buy a lot of cards, one motherboard, and the power supply. Like, what the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we built the rig. I was the one basically like played with the rig, overclocking GPU cards, was basically heating me in winter. Like basically, the more you overclock the card, the more heat it makes. I
Yeah.
remember. I remember even. I mean, you don't have this in Gibraltar, of course, but I remember that winter 2013 to 14 was minus 20 in Kiev. So basically, my rig was standing on the balcony. The window was open. The door to the balcony was open,
Bloody
and
hell.
basically, warm air was coming into the room.
Bloody hell. But what about, so does it damage the computer, like the motherboard, the condensation,
No,
or it doesn't?
of course, eventually it did, right? Of course, eventually you have a lot of dust, and especially if it is snowing, like
Yeah, water.
over, if it is snowing at night and you don't see, and there is really a lot of dust, a lot of moist. Of course, these cards don't really live for long. So I broke one card, but the rest were kind of good. So that is when, like, that is how we started, right? That is how I started with crypto in general. And I was
Yeah.
like, now I have to understand what am I really doing, right? What is the Stratum server? What does the rig actually does? And then I started to like understand what is mining. And I was like, okay, interesting concept, but why? Then I started to understand, like, okay, so how do you do this centralized system which basically replaces money? And then I started to really like read the white paper of Satoshi, right? Understanding what is what. At that time, of course, there was no information about this in Russian. I mean, basically at that time, the industry was like in the very, very beginning. There were like some movements in US, in London, and the rest like was nothing really happening in 2013. So I started to realize what is what, and then I started to Google, like, do we have a community for this, like to speak, exchange ideas, ask questions, and so on. And I realized that one guy in Ukraine is basically doing the meetup on this, basically just in a few weeks. And I was like, okay, let's try. And at the same time we started, there were in news that Apple is throwing out all apps which are connected with cryptocurrency. So basically, all wallets just disappeared from Apple Store in December 2013. Like everything connected with crypto just disappeared. And my other friend Andy, he just said he was a great developer. He just said like, okay, let's develop a web app which looks like a native mobile app for
Okay.
iPhone. I know with technology how we can connect the wallet to the hardware device, right? So that means
Yeah.
that you can only log in into wallet only from this phone, which kind of almost mimics the native app, right? We did it with the native interface and everything. It was called Fruit Wallet. I think right now you can only find anything about Fruit Wallet on the forums because the website is not there anymore, and so on. So this was like the first experiment, like we tried to do something with crypto.
So when you mention web app, it's basically a web page that then you save on your phone, right? You save the link, but the link looks like an app, correct? And then you press it and it
Exactly.
opens up. Okay.
Exactly. And even when you press, so on the first login or on the sign up, it
Yeah.
asks access to the certificate of the phone
Ah,
and
okay. So it
connects to it.
identifies. Okay.
So you
Okay.
cannot log
Okay.
in from other device. So you don't need a 2FA or anything. You can only log in from this device and that's all.
So each phone has a sort of, I know that it's not an IP address because IP
It's a
address changes
hardware.
every time, but
Yeah,
it's a
it's a
hardware
hardware
code.
identificator.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. And so you came up with a Fruit Wallet, correct?
Fruit wallet, yeah.
Fruit Wallet. And I guess that then you were actually one of the first movers within the fintech industry, especially if you
In
look at East
Ukraine.
Europe.
Yeah,
Yeah, in
exactly.
Ukraine.
Exactly. So what happened is actually I mean we met with the guys like there were only like few people who understood what is happening. Then we realized that we need to do the meetups. We founded Bitcoin Foundation Ukraine. We at that time already in London there were events called Satoshi Square. It's basically where people exchange bitcoins offline. So we made Satoshi Square Ukraine. We were meeting like every 2 weeks, and every week I was doing like free Q&A sessions for everyone who is interested in the co-working
Yeah.
space. So I mean we were having like really a lot of fun. No one really understood like how to really earn money on this. We were like mostly having fun. Some guys were trading, some guys were exchanging for people who want to invest and so on, like helping
Yeah.
how to
Like
do it.
brokers, no sort of
Exactly,
crypto
exactly.
brokers. Yeah.
So this was like only the beginning of everything. And then in April, there was the first crypto conference um, in Moscow. I think it was 11th April 2014. So this is the
You
first
have quite
event.
some memory.
No,
I
no,
don't remember my
no,
birthday.
I really like to remember chronologically my life. That's really what I enjoy. I can pretty much tell you any year where I was and what I was doing.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
crazy.
history so well, but my history I know. And basically, even Roger Ver was there in Moscow in 2014. And that is where I met even a lot of people with whom I still work today at that event. I was on the stage there, I even have a photo where I am on the same stage with Roger in 2014.
Wow.
No, I mean, so it was interesting, let's say so. And then we started to do conferences in Ukraine and there, and then I was hired by Texayo and Ghash. Ghash at that time had 52% of all mining power. Yeah,
My God.
so my entry into the industry was like starting from really like relatively big business.
But see, I have a question now. Okay, you just mentioned that they had over 50% mining power, right? And since you, of course, you're you know much more about this industry than I do, I always have this question, in my mind. Bitcoin is centralized, it's an even distribution of power amongst all those that, buy in the project, or like that have the ledger. And so basically it's a decentralized model. Part of it's like what makes it so enticing is the decentralized nature. But my question is, you know, I I don't understand why mining, right, doesn't have a cap on the processing power of the computers, because that centralizes again the system, right? Imagine if there was a cap on the processing power, right, and like to solve the algorithm, then if anyone could mine using their mobile phone, that would be true decentralization, right?
Yeah,
Because then you really, first of all, you increase adoption. Second, it becomes almost like a lottery, something that everyone would buy in, right?
yeah, yeah.
You enhance the security, you increase the distribution of the ledger. But that doesn't seem to be the case with Bitcoin. With the fact that there is no cap and that every time the algorithm adjourns itself based
Yeah.
on the average processing power of those that are mining, you're encouraging a centralization of processing, which is what happened, with these mining farm until, well, the price of mining was just, the price of Bitcoin wasn't worth the mining. But that's what I don't understand. Do you also think that there is some flaw in how in the mining behind Bitcoin? Do you think it could be improved, or do you think I'm wrong in this opinion?
Basically, you're right. The case is that Satoshi didn't think about it. Satoshi didn't think about that people will invent special chips. His idea was that everyone will mine with the processor of their computer. Then some clever people understood that you can do it with GPU, and then some people understood that they can make ASICs. Case is that, I mean, Satoshi didn't realize that this will happen. His idea was like people will just install the software and will just run it when they can or when they want, and would be even distribution. But then it became business. I don't think that he really understood that it will become a separate industry. When you're inventing something, it's very hard for you to, without any experience and trials and errors, to know everything in advance, right?
Yeah.
Also, he didn't think that it would be hard to update Bitcoin because of the decentralization, right? Because now to reach consensus is impossible, right? We saw this in the late 2018 when consensus miserably failed, and now we have BCH and BSV. So the case is that
And
I'm
also about this, right? About updating, because that's another thing that I don't understand. And I
yeah, we
have
can
guests saying
okay,
both,
I am
right?
canceling all my next meetings.
What? No. I'll give it brief, I promise. But it's something that maybe you can help me understand, because I'm really confused about this part. From what I understand, or at least my belief was always that to update the ledger, like the algorithm behind the Bitcoin ledger, you need to basically obtain anonymous consensus, because everyone would have to basically update their ledger so to update the algorithm,
Yeah.
or you fork.
It's
So
kind of it's kind of the same,
okay,
but it can go well or not.
okay, but fork. like forks stem from updating the algorithm, correct?
Um, it's kind of always about the fork,
Mm-hmm.
but the definition of the fork that especially with the chain, it's very easy to explain with the chain
Yeah,
because
of course,
everyone
you fork out.
can imagine fork in
Yeah,
the chain,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
There
yeah.
is a chain and then it kind of like goes.
Of
So the
course, yeah.
question is, can you convince most of the nodes to go the same direction?
Yes.
Because basically from some block, right? So the idea of updating Bitcoin, right? You release the update, which will really change something at the certain height of the block, right? So then if 90% of the nodes installed it, then at the moment X, they will start working on one chain, right?
Okay.
And then the ones who didn't will start to work on different chain, which is kind of an original chain, right? Because nothing changed.
Yeah.
So if you think about, then the fork looks like like the straight one and the fork, right? So
Okay.
the idea is that this big fork has to be bigger than the main
The
one.
original one,
Then
yeah.
then it's kind of worked, and the ones who didn't update, they will understand relatively quickly that they forgot, and they will join.
But from what I understand, every time there is a fork in Bitcoin, people that already hold Bitcoin are entitled to receive an equivalent amount of Bitcoin in the new currency of the fork, right? Or something like that.
The case is that, yeah, for this, you just have to understand what is blockchain, right? So the blockchain is like a state machine, kind of. So it just changes the state. So every block doesn't really record a state of the whole blockchain. It only updates some records. So basically, each block is an update. Okay, I
Okay.
update the blockchain stating this, and that. And all this, and that can be only 1 megabyte, right? I mean, or right now, what is two? I'm not really
Yeah, but
following
it has to
this.
be like relatively small because otherwise, like the computer would be
Of
just
course, that is why they
yeah.
did the SegWit, where you can kind of like more efficiently store information in the Bitcoin blockchain, which is kind of like struggling to scale. So the idea is that when you kind of understand what this like how the states change, then you understand that you receiving Bitcoins is probably somewhere here, right? So there is a block which says your address receives 1 Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So whatever the splits, it can be hundred of forks, right? Going. If you received Bitcoins before, you
You will
own
have
this, you
the
own this
yeah.
in all of the forks.
And this is what I don't understand. Isn't that almost a going back to the general Byzantine problem that you cannot spend the same Bitcoin twice? If you fork, in
It's
reality,
not
you
the
do.
same. This would be
I,
different, the Bitcoins.
yes, no, I understand. It's a different currency. It's a different. It's a new. Yeah, it's the same item but in a different system. So it's like a separate thing. I understand that, but it's almost generating money out of thin air. Because if that started to have value,
Yes,
then you created value out of nothing.
if it has value.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah,
Absolutely true. So you can fork Bitcoin, no worries. I mean, you can fork Bitcoin, be the only
yeah,
one who mines it, mine
yeah. But if no
yourself
one
100
adopts it,
Bitcoins
then
and so on.
yeah,
But who will buy Bitcoins on
of
this
course.
chain, right? No one.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That is why this BSV and BCH, they kind of like working to make it popular, because then they kind of like
They can sell. Yeah, they
have
can make money.
bitcoins in both chains, right? So this is
Yeah,
also
yeah,
about
yeah.
the politics. I don't want to blame Craig
No, no,
Wright,
no, no. I
Roger
know that there
Ver.
is a bit of it's a controversial. I know, I
Yeah,
know.
if you have a
But
thousand Bitcoin, you invest few hundred Bitcoin in order to promote kind of like your fork, and then you have what 800 Bitcoins there, 800 there, and if you can sell those 800 for the money that you spent to promote this chain, then it makes sense.
yes, no, absolutely. And moving a bit away from the controversy. Thanks a lot because I feel that it's such a technical aspect. I think that a lot of time when you read online, resources can be very dismissive, and also some paper. It's very hard to really understand what goes on, and I think it's also a matter of opinion.
Yes.
But what I'm really interested about, being wary of time, I know that you have a call soon, but I'd like to talk about about CoinsPaid and about the product that you offer, because I'm very, very interested in that. I think it's a very interesting product.
Um, so yeah, I don't even know where to start.
Okay, let's
So
start.
I
What is
kind
your
of
role? What's CoinsPaid? When did you fund it? And what is your role in the company? Let's start like that.
So basically, I was hired there, right? So
Oh, wow.
I didn't found the company, right? I was running different projects before. I mean, I was working in different projects before, but somehow happened that most of my time I'm kind of like rotating around wallets and payments, right? So kind of like right now, I see that most of the materials about it and most of the companies who are doing payments in cryptocurrency, they are lacking like pieces of information. Like I see that there is a clearly lack of expertise in this industry. It might be not very humble from my side, right? But I just feel that not so many people kind of like know how to run this business really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I was promoting different projects and products, mostly like involved in the gaming and betting industries, because that is where payments are usually challenging, right?
Yeah.
Their requirements and payments, it should be really quick, right? It should be not so expensive. It should be international. It should be irreversible. Basically, all these things are about cryptocurrency, right?
Yeah, you can design yeah, I see, I see.
So what really happened, like I was hired as a business developer for CoinsPaid in February last year,
Mm-hmm.
and then in May I was appointed as a CEO of CoinsPaid. Basically, we had just few clients and probably 5 employees. So we basically forked from another group of companies who are doing. Also, we forked from Merkelion, who is developing cryptocurrency exchanges, and this was kind of like a product for their hot wallet and so on. And I was just told, Max, just do what you know, right? Just try to build the business out of it.
And what do you offer with CoinsPaid?
So we right now we already offer a lot of things. So we like let's start from the ground, right?
Okay.
Because all cryptocurrency projects, they kind of like start with integration with the blockchain, right? We have our own integration with around I think 20 blockchains, right? All the popular cryptocurrencies are integrated. So we have a lot of the servers spread all over the world, right, to decrease the synchronization issues. So we don't rely on the BitGo, on basically anyone who's supplying this data. So we run everything in-house. So all these machines supply information to the core, right? The core is basically the tool which follows a lot of blockchains, which also we have a lot of tools on top, right? Like accepting transactions instantly, right? For this, you need insurance, right? So we have a provider who provides us information if we can accept transaction before.
Transactions of what nature? Crypto to crypto, fiat to
No,
crypto?
transactions, cryptocurrency in, right?
Okay.
Because when you pay for something in crypto, most likely you will have to wait for confirmations, right? Basically included in the blocks.
Yeah.
For users, I mean, for
Yeah,
players
that's
in casino or
inconvenient.
whatever, they don't like it, right? We have a
So you
way how
take the
to make.
risk.
Yes, yes, but
Okay.
I have insurance provider who kind of offers me to insure most of the transactions. So in most of the cases, it's instant. When I say most, it's close to 90.
Okay.
Of course, if address has the history of double spends or whatever, then it would not be instant. We will wait for confirmations. Most of the cases instant. Then we have a lot of providers of liquidity, of prices, of FX, and so on. So we can not only receive crypto, but immediately swap it into fiat.
Do you have basically a basket of crypto that is available to cover a certain volume of transaction, or that
This is,
you
yes, we also have
okay.
this if you speak about exchanges, because how
Hmm.
exchanges work, you need to have some money there,
Yes,
right, in order to
liquidity for,
hedge.
of course.
Exactly. But with liquidity providers, you don't have to. They have their own liquidity, and you just tell them, I want to sell or I want to buy. So we have
Yeah.
a network of different providers.
Okay.
So now we have, and then you need a fiat ecosystem, right? So you need bank accounts. in order to to settle to clients, or if somebody wants to buy crypto from you, you need to receive money, right? Then you need to spread it between your liquidity providers or exchanges to settle with them, and so on. And we pretty much have everything automated. So we have integration to the fiat world. We have integration to the blockchains. I mean, it sounds much easier than it is. Integration with the
No. I can
blockchains.
imagine the headache.
Yeah, then you have all these providers of intelligence, insurance, prices, liquidities on different places. You need kind of like a trading engine, and also analytics tools, and also back office, so clients know which transaction arrived where. They need to enable some currencies, disable some currencies. All of them has different fee structures. So, anyways, right? It's already like, I think we invested already a lot of money in the product, and the product is really good. I think at least
So you
this
have
is the best on the market.
so you have basically a solid solid infrastructure for payment processing involving crypto and blockchain,
Yes,
right?
and
That's
now
what
we
you build.
built it. Yes, and now we built it, and I understand it is not really only for crypto anymore. You can
And my
do it
question
for
is
like
that,
online banks, whatever. We already have an engine with all the integrations. We
okay,
have crypto, right? If somebody wants
yeah,
to do like e-money institution and so on, we have tools for merchants to receive payments. We have e-wallet for cryptocurrency and fiat, and we have
yes.
the merchant tool, and we have this exchange platform, which you
So do
can
you
use
white
for
label it?
FX. And we white label it as well.
Okay, perfect.
So we develop it for ourselves, right? But then if somebody wants something, I don't know, similar or whatever,
Hmm.
because I mean, right now, honestly, right? I mean, we don't really have a lot of competitors, right?
Hmm.
Like BitPay, CryptoPay, or the Coin Payments, right? All these guys, I mean, okay, most of them are older than we are, right? But I see what they offer and how they offer, and the liquidity, how they calculate liquidity, how they add hidden margins, and so on. I think that like our system is much more transparent, right? We don't outsource anything. We control all the costs, right? We know where the costs are, and we have pretty much no dependency, right? We have
I
one
have,
dependency on the
yeah.
banks.
Okay, I have two questions about it. Okay, first, I'm really curious about. First of all, I know that you are, and I'm not sure if we can say that. If not, we can take this out of the episode. But I know that you're looking at gaming, right? At like bringing some of your product to the gaming industry. Is that correct? Or
um, we are the
online
biggest in
gaming?
iGaming. We are the
Perfect.
biggest in iGaming. This is for sure. I'm looking more like to expand out of iGaming, because
Okay.
iGaming is really a big part, I would say, right? Of course, I'm not speaking about some dodgy iGaming, right? I'm speaking about the
Big
licensed
companies
brand.
licensed, of course.
Yeah.
No, but I imagine they need a lot of that. But here is my question. I'm a super keen gamer. Okay. I'm very gamer as in video
Video
games.
games.
Yeah, an esport, and that's a very strong area of interest of mine. And now one of the, I mean, a trending monetization model involves micropayments, and everywhere on mobile applications, on AAA titles. Is that a market that you're looking to service? Because I think there would be huge advantages for the user and for the publishers, to reduce the costs that are associated with all of these microtransaction, because there are hundreds of thousands, if not million of microtransaction every day, for a skin, 0.99 cent. Is that a market
Glad
that you're
you
looking at, or?
Yeah, glad you asked. We recently got few nice clients for skin trading.
Ama-
Very amazing volumes, frequency. We understand this business, right? This is kind of like e-commerce, so it's
yes.
very transparent. We understand what people do. We try this is in. They have
So peer to
connection with
peer.
Steam, so they kind of like they do peer to peer, right? But I mean, if you trade skins, right, you go to the platform, you connect your Steam account, right,
Hmm.
and then basically like immediately in the website where you connected, right, you put in the keys from
For the
Steam,
skin,
right,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
see what are the tradable items. or marketable. I don't really understand this, right? I'm not.
So there are basically, the problem is that there are few publishers which are the producer of video game that allow people to own the
Yeah.
in-game items because of IP concerns, and so on and
Okay.
so forth. But those that allow it, for example, Valve kind of allow it, with CS:GO, and actually there have been some problem of money laundering, people using skins to money launder and video game item. But I think one of the most curious aspects of blockchain is that it allows virtual property to exist, which didn't really before. Because if you think about it, you can copy and paste any file however many times you want, but you cannot copy and paste Bitcoin. Correct? You cannot, like, because of the
Yes, but
double
now you
spending.
say, yeah, now you speak about blockchain used for
Correct.
like
No.
ownership
Yeah,
rights.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
is
No, I'm
basically
familiar.
tokenization of the
Of
assets
course.
then, right?
No, I
It's more
understand that.
hardcore, more
Of
hardcore.
course, and no, I understand that, but I do think that eventually, I mean, I see a huge use case in using blockchain for this type of application, But moving ahead from that, no, going back to the skin trading, I think that's really interesting. I think that's a very interesting market. And the other question that I had, I said that I had two questions. One was this one, to understand whether you were
Yeah, but
delving
wait a
into it.
second. Yeah, I will.
I
So I will continue with a few other things. So yeah, with the skins is a good thing. So we are looking to expand. Yeah, but in general, right? Even probably the previous question, right? So like what we really managed to achieve, right? We have a hot wallet, so everyone who want to deal with crypto just to receive and send, we have the solution, right?
Mhm.
Anyone who wants to buy and sell, we have a solution. Anyone who is willing to accept crypto as a payment method, usually with exchange to Euro, USD, GBP, right? As a payment method, e-shops, I don't know, whoever. This we have. And anyone who like to start similar business, we have white label. And right now we launched B2C product, which is just a wallet. And this is
Okay.
all running in the same ecosystem. And especially right now, I don't know, like if you follow, Bitcoin network is kind of not working today. Probably tomorrow it will, but already for a few days, Bitcoin is kind of like not working, and the
Yeah.
fees
Right.
are like
Yeah.
$5
Yeah.
right now. So Bitcoin is kind of like doesn't really work for payments so well, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying this on different conferences, events for many years already, like since 2015, and looks like nobody really kind of like willing to understand it probably, but Bitcoin is not working for payments. If you now try to send transaction in Bitcoin, you will have to pay €5. If you send $20, doesn't
Yeah.
work. So the why I'm saying this, that on the same ecosystem, of course, users of our wallet can pay our merchants off chain, right? So kind of like it's not a lightning network. This is just like because it is all on our hot wallets, and we just don't have to send money to ourselves. So we managed already to move
I
thousands
see.
of transactions off chain. We even had
Okay.
to develop our own off chain explorer.
So it's a virtual ledger that you have,
Yeah.
which connects all of your users. So you don't have to actually transfer money out. It is within. That resembles a little bit kind of a form of e-money, right? A limited network e-money where people trade value within,
Yes,
but
but
don't
these
extract it.
e-money are in crypto. Yeah,
Yeah.
the e-money
Yeah.
in
That's
crypto.
a.
So we have an explorer. Probably we can then place a link below that you can just see
For
that
sure.
some percent of transactions are right now off chain, because we are right now consuming few percent of the whole blockchain, right? So it's not like 0 0. We are reaching right now 3% of all Bitcoin transactions
Wow.
sent. And even if we send just few percent of those 3%, it still like impacts the whole Bitcoin blockchain.
So the hot wallet, right? Let me understand how it works from a user perspective. I'm depositing Bitcoin in the hot wallet that you provide, correct? So I guess that you are the one that then holds the cryptocurrency on behalf of your users, because if you
Yes.
allow them to trade, okay.
Yes.
So users are provided with some form of token that represent their holding in cryptocurrency, which are held by you, correct?
Yeah, basically just a number in the interface. Yeah.
Okay, so that really enhances also the security for users, correct? Although it is more centralized, you should be able to provide higher security standards. And if there is a payment which is dodgy, I guess you could revert it, which you cannot otherwise.
Um, Yeah, so this is quite a complex questions, right? So of course we have
Okay.
a security audit from Kaspersky, right, which is a
Experts.
relatively
Yeah.
well known. I mean, there are not so many like others that you can right now get a certificate with a good name, right?
Yeah.
And then of course with the hosted wallets, and what we provide is basically called hosted wallet. I mean, of course, you kind of like not supposed to hold big amounts in this wallet, right? I mean, if
Yeah.
somebody invested 1 million in cryptocurrency, he will never hold them in the hosted wallet. I mean, unfortunately, many will, right? But it's always a bad idea. It's always a bad
Yeah.
idea because what I do, I give Bitcoin wallet services, right? It's not Bitcoin wallet in the sense of understanding the wallet, right? Because the wallet is a software application which manages your keys, addresses, and inputs.
Hmm. Yeah.
And we have a wallet, right? That we have an app which holds keys, addresses, and inputs. Basically, we have millions of addresses and probably more inputs. Yeah, but we just provide it as an easy interface that the user cannot lose keys and so on. He has an email, password, and a token from the Google House, right? So then if he loses the phone, right, then probably no one can steal the money unless they really have full access to the phone and they
Yeah.
know where to go and what to do. If somebody just steals the password, they cannot really log in. And we have a procedures where if you lost the phone, right, you have to prove that we are speaking with you. So security, of course, is extremely important here.
Yeah. All right. Well, actually, that was my second question. By the way, I didn't, I didn't anticipate it again, but I'm aware of time. I know that you have a
No,
call
it's fine.
in.
It's fine. Let me also check.
Um, but I just wanted to ask you one final question, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Um, I just wanted to ask whether you're excited about any particular upcoming technology, aside from blockchain. Is there anything else that you see? And especially because of the person you are, we spoke about how much you like new things and innovation. You tend to just, delve into it and try to envision a future that use it, try to understand how that could contribute to everyday life. So, is there anything else that you see on the horizon that makes you particularly excited?
I would say I'm waiting for some strong technology to appear, which will kind of become a standard for payments. But I somehow lose my face over the time. So like they are not appearing, right? I was thinking probably Litecoin or Ethereum will kind of like replace Bitcoin in payments, but it's
Hmm.
kind of like continue not to happen, right? So most of
Yeah,
my clients they offer Bitcoin as a deposit method, Ethereum, Litecoin, BCH, and still everybody's like stick to Bitcoin. I already like try to incentivize them, recommend them, explain why. And I mean, among the serious players, probably with the Tezos, I hear a lot of things that they are working and developing the stuff. I hear good things about BSV, right? Which is politically, of course, kind of like was a very
yeah, controversial.
strange,
Yeah, yeah,
right, controversial kind of like launch of this technology. That is why many exchanges just delisted it, which of course influenced the adoption a lot, right? But now they have some partnerships, they have some like agreements with some gaming groups and so on. Who knows, right? Maybe they can really manage it because technologies are good, right? We don't really have challenge with technologies so much. It's
yeah,
more like with like who will manage to push their technology out there, right? Because
yeah.
with
Adoption is
Bitcoin,
the main problem. Yeah,
exactly, Bitcoin was not pushed by anyone, right? It just happened organically. And right now with the technology, somebody just has to like really push it out there. And
hmm,
I mean, we have to be blockchain agnostic, right? We don't really care which technology um, like is more popular. My idea is to provide to my potential clients and to my existing clients the features that they need, right, for their business. Because what we do, we are not really like creating any kind of like rocket science, right? We work with the needs of the industries, right? I know that, for example, iGaming has challenges with the payments from all over the world, right? I understand what they value, right? Like speed, fair exchange rates, clear agreements, clear legal structures, right? It's not only about technology. right?
Yeah.
We kind of have to provide them the whole solution, recommendations. We recommend them how to show it on the website, right? That users would like to click it, right? So it is the whole package solution kind of that we offer. And yeah, we don't really care. We can help them to create a flow for BSV, for Ripple, for Bitcoin, Litecoin, and so on. But then it is up to the players, right? Up to the
Yeah.
users to make a vote, what they want to use more. And then second problem is education, because I believe that many users, they don't really realize how Bitcoin works. And this is like how I started my kind of like career in the industry. I understood that this industry cannot grow on people who don't understand technology and don't want to understand technology. So the problem is that even players who send Bitcoin in order to play games or to buy skins, they don't understand that Bitcoin has only up to 7 transactions a second. And them sending it right now instead of Litecoin or Ethereum, making it 6 a second, right?
Yeah.
And if we kind of like all don't have this understanding, then Bitcoin will fail for everything. So right now we have to realize that it already failed for payments and use it only for money storage, right? For money storage, when you send big transactions, right, for 500,000, 250,000, it will not happen 7 transactions a second, right? This would be
Yeah.
enough, right? I mean, we can do up to, I don't know, few transactions a second should be enough for big transactions. For small transactions, use Litecoin, Ethereum,
Yeah.
BCH,
Something more
BSV,
practical.
something more lighter, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, let's see how it goes.
All right, Max, thanks so much for coming on Blockchain Rock. It was great to have the ability, to speak with you. It was a very interesting conversation.
Same here.
I'm gonna leave, links to CoinsPaid with the video. But if you have anything to add, please do. Otherwise, thank you so much again for coming on Blockchain Rock.
Yeah, I mean, we decided to have our B2B brand under the separate name, cryptoprocessing.com. So please
Okay,
add the link there as
I
well.
will.
And
I
Omri, there
will for
was a
sure.
pleasure as well. I think we had a really interesting conversation, and I'm really hopeful that everyone who hears it will kind of understand the technology slightly more and the challenges and payments slightly more.
Thank you so much, Max. It was great. Thank you for making the time, and I hope we both. I
Anytime.
mean, all of us at Blockchain Rock hope to be able to host you again in the next episode.
I would love to. I
Thanks so
would
much.
love to.
Thanks so
Enjoy.
much.
Ciao.